Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the light and the shadow. And in here we have a cast shadow. That shadow is being cast from the edge of the apple. And over here we have a light. Okay, let's see what else. I'm going to lift this edge a little bit so I can see my apple shape. And there's one more thing. In here we have a coarse shadow. That's the area where the shadow, where the light hits the least. And then over here we're going to have our reflective light. What that is, if you look up here, the light is coming down, it's hitting this tablecloth, and it's bouncing right back up into the apple. And it's going right along the contour of the apple. So it's helping to draw that apple. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'll get the more details. Oh, look at this. If you only want to lift up the paint a little bit, you just dab it like that and it lifts up. There's all kinds of methods you could do for moving this paint around. Okay, I think it's time to put the paint on now, the really heavy-duty, buttery oil paint that you all love. So what I'm going to do is, remember, stop using water. We need to use oil, because this is oil paint. So now it's to my mediums. The medium is the oil that I mentioned earlier, the modified oil that makes this paint water soluble. The other medium I have here is the gel. Remember when I added this gel to the paint? So I've already added the gel, and I want you to know something about this gel. Besides being giving you thicker body to the paint, it also dries faster, which is really a nice quality if you'd like that. Another thing we have, this regular oil that I mentioned earlier, it dries about the same speed as regular oil, traditional oil. Now we have one more medium that I'd like to tell you about, and that's this one over here. It's called wOil Fast Dry Medium. And what this is good for, if let's say you're painting and you really like painting into dry paint, well, with this one you would use the fast drying medium, and by the next day you could paint into a dry painting. So you have a lot of options with the wOil by Martin F. Weber. It's such a wonderful product. I love this stuff. Okay, let's get back to our painting. This is really the fun part. You could use all these toys and play, and that's really the fun part. Okay, I'm going to start with my darks in my background. That's one of the rules in painting, is you start with your darks. Okay, so let me get some green. I'm going to dip in a little bit of oil here just to get some nice green flowing, and I'm going to draw the side of my apple. Here we go. And I can get that nice thick paint. Okay. And I'm going to add a little blue to it. That's the dark side of my background. And leaving my brush strokes because I find them very exciting. Okay, let's go. Get some paint on this. Now I'm going to jump over to here. I'm going to go put my cast shadow, as long as I've got that blue and green going, but I'm going to make it a little bit darker, and I'm going to go to my burnt umber. Burnt umber is a wonderful color that mixes with ultramarine blue, and it gets a really dark. Oh, you know what's going on is my painting is still a little wet, so it's picking up some color, but that's good. It's really adding it nicely into that. If you could see this close up, you'd see all the rich color that is in this picture. Okay, now I'm going to see, I got that dark and that dark. I'm going to go over to this side and find some darks over to the left side. So I'm going to add a little bit of this orange. It's a nice complement to the green, and it grays it down. And since I'm going from one side of a wall to the other side, I like to make changes. If you look around you, you'll see in nature that things change. When you look at one wall, look at the other. Do that at home. See what happens. So as an artist, I'm looking at reality and letting people know what goes on. So let's throw in some color. Ooh, that's an interesting color. I'm going to throw in some more. Come over here, you. And I think I'm going to put a little more blue in that. See, this is where you can make your painting your own. You can put in that whatever color strikes you, whatever value you like. That's the beauty of creative painting. And if you could see, I hope you can see in this video how rich that paint is and how beautiful those strokes are. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have this quality pigment in this paint that's a professional type paint. You too can have this without the smelly solvents. It's wonderful. Okay, what else? Let's see. I'm going to come to the foreground now and get some paint going on in there. Dipping into my oil on occasion. Notice I'm not putting a lot of oil. There's already a lot of nice oil in this paint. I'm just putting it on there to help it flow just a little bit more. Let's see, what color do I want? I'm going to go into that cat orange again, gray it down and get some nice grays. Let me get it a little bit lighter. Throw it in there. That's actually looking kind of pretty. You know, even though it's all dark greens and grays, it still has a beautiful harmony because I'm using similar colors and they're blending well together. So we're moving along. I better move along a little faster. Okay, one of the things, if you're painting in this method, you don't want to overstroke it. You want to let the strokes sit there. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush. Better get some red in my apple. So I'm going over to this beautiful cad red. This brings up a subject. In the water mixable oils, they have cadmium hues. And the reason they do that is so that it's non-toxic. It's safe around your children, it's safe around your pets, and so that's why they do it. It's safe in classrooms where children are studying. So some of the artists are saying, I don't really want to use that. I want to use my metallic, my real cad. Well, first of all, I found that many times you end up mixing those colors anyway. But if I find I need to use a red, a real cad or a real cobalt or whatever metallic color, what I do and what you can do with this paint is you could add 20% of it to your paint. If you had a regular cad, you know, one that's the regular traditional oils, you could add 20% and it would still be water soluble. So let's say you want to use that, that's great. Also, let's say you have some other older paint that you want to use. And you're like, oh, I don't want to go out and buy all new paint. I have so much oil paint at home. Or I even have acrylics at home. Well, you know what you could do? You could add that to this paint and use it up and still have it safe and non-toxic. Now, that's a good idea.